me see it. Come on. Come on. Good job. Good job, Bubba. Good job. What's up, guys? Welcome back to the vlog. Look at Mr. Brown. A lot of you already know this, but obviously I have a dog, and I'm a proud dog dad. I love dogs. I think everyone should have a dog. So with that being said, I wanted to make a video about what it's really like to have a dog, right? Cost, time commitment, responsibilities. Those are the three major things when it comes to having a dog that I feel like a lot of people don't truly understand. So a lot of you, like I said, a lot of you have dogs. A lot of you just got a dog, right? So you're kind of learning those things. You're kind of understanding what it costs to have a dog, understanding what the time commitment is like, and starting to understand the responsibilities. And then I know there's a lot of you out there. I've gotten questions before of oh, what's up, Ian, man? I'm thinking about getting a dog. What do you think? And I'm like, whoa, that's such a big question, man. What do you mean, what do I think, right? So a lot of you out there who are thinking about getting a dog, a lot of stuff goes into having a dog. I mean, just ask someone with a dog, they'll tell you right away, where do I start, right? So in this video, we're just gonna go through real data, real raw, kind of weekend day of what it's really like to have a dog. It's cost, it's responsibilities, and time commitment. So I'm gonna try to give you real raw numbers on actual cost. I'm gonna try to really dive into what I mean by having to be responsible. And then the third one is time commitment, right? As we all know, it takes time commitment to have a dog, right? You can't just get a dog and let it lay around, or just have it do whatever, right? I don't know, but you guys know. So speaking of costs, we are actually on our way, or about to leave, to go to the groomers, right? Yeah. So he's gonna go to the groomers. He's gonna get a bath. He's gonna get a fresh haircut, nice little fade. Get his nails trimmed, his teeth brushed. So, all right. After that, we're gonna drop him off, and then we'll sit down and go through some numbers. All right, cool. Yeah, and then you can just trim the tail. Don't cut it all the way down.
Okay, just trim it.
Yeah.
You ready to get groomed? Oh, not again. Is it the same phone number and everything?
Yeah, I circled the correct one.
Probably about 3 hours today. I'm a little busy, but I'll give you a call as soon as he's ready.
Okay, sounds good. Come on, let's go. Come on, you got it. Let's go, Bubs. I know. It's too early for the 1 days.
There you go.
Thank you.
We'll see you in a little bit.
All right, so as promised, I give you the breakdown of what I spend having a dog. Now, the way I did this is a little different. So usually I try to keep track of my expenses on a monthly basis, right? And if you're smart, you do the same thing. But to make this kind of more realistic, what I did is I broke it down, at least the numbers I'm going to give you, I broke it down based off quarterly. And the reason I did that is because I'm in sales, excuse me, I'm in sales, and my life revolves around quarters. So if you're unsure of what quarters mean in a calendar year, I'll let you know, right? So there's 4 quarters in a calendar year. Each quarter is made up of 3 months. For example, Q1 is January, February, March, Q2, April, May, June, and today is Friday, August 29th. So we're in the middle of Q3, right? Pretty simple. So what I did is I compiled a list of expenses for Bronny for last quarter, so Q2. So those months are going to be April, May, and June. So let's dive into it. So on my Excel sheet for my own personal expenses, Bronny has his own section. It's called Bronny expenses. So I break that down in 5 different categories. But so the Bronny expense spreadsheet looks like this, right? It's broken down in food, it's broken down in daycare, it's broken down treats and toys is one thing, and then it's broken down medical, and the next category under Bronny is going to be groomers. The reason I do that, those are everything I buy for Bronny or do for Bronny falls into one of those random categories. Food, of course, essential. Daycare, someone like me who travels for work and also loves to travel in general, daycare and boarding is also essential. Treats and toys and miscellaneous things, essential. Dogs need that. We get treats and toys for ourselves, so they also need it. Barking, essential. If I had $1 for every time Bronny barks when I'm in the middle of something, we'd be a rich man. So yeah, treats, toys, miscellaneous, essential. Medical obviously speaks for itself, and then groomers is separate from daycare and boarding. Although he does get bathed at daycare and boarding, groomers completely something different. He actually gets haircuts, nails trimmed, all the works at groomer. So that's its own separate thing. So let's get into it, right? So for quarter 2 of this year, 2025, April, May, June, for food alone, I spent $200. So that equates to about $66 a month, right? And then we're gonna go from daycare. The next category down in that is gonna be daycare. Now, daycare for quarter 2, I spent about $230 in quarter 2. So that breaks down to about $76 a month. Now, I'm rounding up. My numbers here are 43.60 or 59.87. I'm just rounding up for easy math. So just keep that in mind. So daycare, like I said, $230 in quarter 2. Treats, toys, miscellaneous for quarter 2 is actually surprisingly lower than it usually is, which is good. Only $75. And then medical for quarter 2, surprisingly $0. I'll touch about medical here in a little bit. Groomers for quarter 2, like I said, that's where he goes, gets a full bath, gets a full haircut, nails trimmed, everything, right? Pampered, all that stuff. Groomers, in June, I spent $126 at PetSmart because that's where he goes. Now, he normally goes to the groomers about 4 times a year, so 1 time a quarter. Occasionally, he'll go twice a quarter. Just kind of depends on for example, he'll go to the groomer. For example, today actually, he went to the groomers this morning. And then let's say for some odd reason he's outside and it just gets extremely dirty, or something pops up, or a couple weeks down the line, we're going out of town, or usually when I go home, if he hasn't gotten to go see my family, Usually if he hasn't gotten to groomers within like the last month, he'll go again just because I want him to look good. So, but in Q2, like I said, $126 for groomers. So if you're looking at if you're thinking about the math, and hopefully I can find a way to put this on the screen. If not, just keep up. So the total for Q2, right, 3-month span, April, May, June, came to about $2,500. I'm sorry, math is totally off. Came to about $630, right, for Q2. So if you times that by 4, you're about $2,500, to be exact, $2,524, right? And I'm not a genius. All this math is already done, so don't think I'm a genius. So if you think about that, right, about $2,500. If you divide that by 12, you're looking at an expense for a dog about $210 a month. Now, that low-key is a car payment, right? That's like a nice little, I don't know, Honda Accord, Honda Civic, 2022, you know what I mean? Bluetooth, Wi-Fi. That's actually pretty not bad for a nice car. So $210 every single month is what I'm looking for at Bronny. Now, keep in mind, that's just the baseline. That's just the necessities. Those of you who are watching this and who have dogs, you know that that number is probably pretty low on what you guys probably see. That's just the baseline. That's not including, like, for example, in June, I was in Tahoe for a week. So I had to board Bronny for an entire week. So that I didn't include that expense in there because that's not like a normal, you know what I mean? That's like a normal expense for me. So if I would include that into my Q2 expenses for you guys, that would have been an additional $600. So we're looking at, if we just do the math real quick, right? Instead of my Q2 being at $631, we're looking at almost $1,000 just in Q2, just on Bronny, right? That's just basically the baseline, just on Bronny. So just kind of, if you're thinking, like I said, if you're thinking about getting a dog, like, just make sure you have. What's up, buddy? Yeah, what's up, Buzz? Yeah, you done barking? You done barking? You scare him away? Yeah, you scare him away. Bronny hears me talking about his numbers. He's like, Dad, it doesn't matter what you spend. But yeah, so like I said, if you're thinking about getting a dog, I need you to understand, like, dogs are amazing and like they change your life forever. But like, make sure you just have like a strong understanding of where you are financially, because I see too many times on like social media, specifically Facebook, people needing to like rehome a dog for whatever reason. I've seen a lot of times like, oh, I just can't afford it. It's you know, it's too expensive. So before you go in and buying a dog, and those of you who just got a dog, like, try to sit down and like try to really budget what you think your dog is going to cost. And surprisingly, it's probably going to be more than what you think. So just keep that in mind. If you can afford, you know, I'm blessed enough to be able to live alone, to be able to do the things I want, to be able to travel, and to even have a dog on one salary. I'm blessed enough to be able to afford Bronny. But there's a lot of people out there who just get dogs just to get them, just because they think it's cool, just because they think it's fun to have a dog, because they see an Instagram video. So don't be that person. Make sure you budget. You add your dog to your budget because they deserve it. Also, like I said, that was just the baseline. So there's a lot of ways where you can cut back, right? Like, sure, I spend $200 a quarter on Bronny's food, but like, I get Bronny the best food that I think that he can get, right? Blue Buffalo is what he eats. So Blue Buffalo is pretty pricey for those pet people out there. Blue Buffalo brand in general, anything you get is pretty pricey, and that's just what I like to get my dog, right? They deserve the best. They're gonna get the best. But you definitely not do that. You can get a cheaper brand, which will cut back on that $210 a month cost, right? I could definitely do that. Daycare fluctuates for me. That's why I did it on a 3-month span, on a quarterly span, because watch your mouth. It fluctuates for me. because there's times where I'm traveling a lot for work, daycare and boarding. Daycare is just obviously one day, but boarding's multiple days. But like, it varies for me because there's times where I'm traveling a lot for work. You know, say in like, I don't know, I think end of April and beginning of May, I was kind of busy with work, so he just needed to go to daycare and boarding multiple days in a row, sometimes 2 weeks in a row. So just keep that in mind. If you're a person who, you know, who works from home, like majority of my time I work remote. So if I'm not traveling, I am working from home. But if you don't travel for work and you just work from home, you don't really have to worry about the daycare expense unless you unless you want your dog to socialize. I mean, there are times where I don't travel and it's been like just rain, or like snow here in Pittsburgh. There are times where like a random Friday, I'll just go drop him off at daycare. That way he can kind of get his energy out with other dogs. Because I believe like dogs need that. Like, it's one thing to have the zoomies like in the house and whatnot. There's also another thing of like, sometimes Bronny just needs to go hang out with other dogs because he's annoying the hell out of me. So just keep that in mind. If you're working from home and you don't travel, you can definitely cut back on the daycare expense. For me, that comes to about $76 a month. So let's just say $80 a month. It comes from, so you can definitely cut that back completely in half, to be honest. Especially if you have a yard. You don't really need to get your dog too much exercise at daycare. Or you can, obviously, if you live somewhere warm all year round, they can go to the dog park all year round. That's nice. And then treats and toys and / miscellaneous is the next one that you can cut back on. But I am just a sucker for like a cute treat or like a cute toy. Like if I'm buying Bronny food at like PetSmart, I always walk through the toy aisle. Like, oh, on sale. Like, you know, BOGO, buy one get one, or like what gets me is like the buy two get the third free. So like there's like, and like dog toys aren't cheap. I mean, you can get cheap dog toys, but like Bronny's like a heavy chewer, so like he goes through a toy within like 30 seconds. So I try to get like a brand, I think it's called like Tough Chew or something like that, but like those on average run me like $20. And like the bigger ones of that brand are like a good like $30. So, you know, every time I'm buying him food, I'm just weak in that aspect of it. I'm just weak. I usually get a toy, and then like usually as I'm checking out, there's like a cute little snack or something that I'm like, oh, he would like this, and I get it from that, and then boom, there's like $100 at PetSmart that like should have only been $75 if I just got the food, right? But yeah. So you can definitely cut back on treats and toys and miscellaneous things if you don't give in to your dog like I do. And then groomers, he goes once a quarter. Sometimes he goes twice a quarter, like I was saying earlier. It just kind of depends on my schedule and kind of depends on what his kind of fur looks like. Also just kind of depends on what I want him to look like. Like right now, like I said, he went to the groomers today and he looks pretty good. But I also kind of like him with long hair, especially as it gets into the colder months here in Pittsburgh. The longer hair just keeps him warmer. So, but I try to go at least once a quarter. Like I said, sometimes twice. So just keep that in mind. For me, like I said, it was $126 a quarter. So you could definitely cut that back. You can try to find a cheaper place to go. You can try to do it yourself. But I just like PetSmart. Schedule him online, drop him off for 3 hours, go to the gym, go do whatever I need to do. They call me, pick him up, bada boom, bada bang. I give him a bandana. I take the bandana off. He's not a bandana guy. But thinking about getting a dog, or if you know someone who's getting a dog, make sure that they sit down and look at their budget, because I gave you, in a 3-month span, I gave you the 5 categories of what I think all dogs go through: food, daycare, treats, medical, and groomers. And that came to about $630 in a 3-month span. So times that by 4, you get about $2,500. Divide that by 12, you get about $210. So you're looking at like a smooth little car payment every month, basically, or insurance payment, or whatever payment, student loan payment for those of you out there who got high student loan payments. So that's what you're looking at in about a month. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, if you can afford it, like I said, like I'm blessed enough to be able to afford it, especially just on one income. So yeah, hopefully this makes a lot of sense. I feel like I was talking fast, but I'm just going over my notes. Yeah, just think of your financial situation, and just think that like you probably have to budget like, mine's like 210, but I would, if you're just starting, I would probably budget like, let's just keep it 100, like $300 a month on your dog, especially if you just got your dog. And I'm not even counting how much your dog cost originally to get. And I didn't even bring in medical, because Q2 for me is it has been a slow medical for Bronny. Usually Q1 is the high medical cost, because February he's normally due for all his shots, like Bordetella, fleas, all that other stuff he's due for. And then September he's also due for more shots, like the rabies shots, which you can get every 3 years. There's also other shots he gets because he does go to daycare pretty frequently. I think I've counted 10 barks already. That's $10 we could have already. 13. As long as you budget, as long as you write it down what you're spending, and you can comfortably, and I genuinely mean this, you can comfortably afford to have a dog, get one. But if you can't, don't do it. There's always a cute dog. I get it. But if you're gonna stress out about money, if you're already stressing out about money and you add a dog to your life, that's just adding another expense. That's just adding another stress to your life. So, what's up, guys? Thank you for still following along on that long rant about the cost of having a dog. In the beginning of the video, I said I was going to talk about cost, time commitment, and responsibility. I feel like this video is long enough, and I feel like I talked a lot about cost, more than I thought I was going to. So I'll probably make a different video about like responsibilities about having a dog, what the time commitment is like. That way we're not sitting here watching a 45-minute video. But thanks for watching, especially if you made it this far. If you got a dog, please comment. Let me know what you spend on a month or even a year. If you don't have a dog or thinking about getting one, also comment. Let me know if these numbers make sense. And yeah, I appreciate you guys watching. Love you guys. Have a great day. And say hi to your dog for me. Bye.